So we're going to navigate to osano.com. And the first thing to notice here is that as a new visitor, I'm presented with the appropriate banner based on my jurisdiction. So that's one of our key components, is that we want to know that our technology is providing us with the appropriate banner and opt-out mechanism for that user based on where they're located. So I'm being presented with an accept, a deny, and even a manage preferences button because I'm located in California in this case. But as Lucas mentioned, we also really want to ensure that we are honoring those GPC signals and those universal opt-out mechanisms. And that's exactly how we are relying on this technology, again, to not only listen for and respect those signals, but to also indicate to the user that we have done so. And then as the user, I can go ahead and deny those non-essential items even further and say that I'm choosing to opt out of all of those categories. So now I'm expecting this website and the technology to behind it to really respect those choices. I can even see that I can still choose to manage my preferences. And this is where we can move towards the kind of auditing purposes. We want to be sure that users are able to track their consent. And as the site owner, we need to be able to audit that. So if we move back to the Osano dashboard, this is how we're putting in place that strategy of knowing what our technology is being used for and instructing our CMP in this case on how to treat those items, in this case, these cookies, based on those users' preferences. So we have all of our classification of our items. We've categorized them, and we've basically told our tool that when a user opts out of these categories, we want to be sure that they're bucketed appropriately based on that understanding that Lucas went through in that site audit. We want to be sure that when those categories are declined, those items are not continuing to fire and not sharing data downstream to other vendors. So once we know that we have that set up, we can then really start to audit that process and ensure that we're tracking and saving those consents. So what that looks like is being able to pull up individual consent records. And so we can see that my consent is saved here for auditing purposes and tracking. And we know exactly that this user has obviously opted into Essential because we can't opt out. And they've also indicated that they do not want their data sold or shared. And that's that GPC signal that we're relying on. We even know the region, the country, the language that they've consented into. And so this is really where that auditing and relying on that technology, knowing that it's working for you, really comes into play.
And as Colin mentioned, for the auditing as well as that Osano setup, let's take a look at what it looks like for an audit of the actual Osano website. No violations, 4 unique platforms that are loading. In terms of the implementation on the Osano website, all those are loading from the page source. But if people remember from last week's session and kind of that recommended implementation for the Osano platform, that is the tag management system, which, as we can see in this audit, is loading on every single page, being implemented in the source in order to be able to alleviate timing issues and concerns, and then also leveraging that blocking functionality. So even tags that are loaded outside of something like a tag management system, which does make it easier for if you have to conditionally configure tags to listen for signals. In this case, it's taken care of. So again, as we can see here, clean, 4 platforms that are loading, CMP on all pages, and then no issues for users that reject or opt out, be that via GPC or be it that via an explicit rejection on the consent banner.